A very warm greetings to all my dear students. I welcome you in the first video from another chapter, Money and Banking. We will introduce ourselves first with the concept of money. Then we will discuss the concepts of banking system that we follow. So what do you think? How money came into existence? Was money available also in the ancient time? If it is available, then what were the different forms? That we will learn, and then we will discuss the concept of money as per our syllabus. So let's begin the story of money. The first system came into existence when there was no money, that is through barter system. So barter system of exchange refers to exchange of goods for goods. Means the barter system is a system of exchange in which goods were exchanged with another goods. And an economy where there is a direct barter of goods and services is called a barter economy or CC economy, where C stands for commodity. Now, barter system can be taken place in three forms. How barter system can take place? It can take place in three forms, that is goods to goods, goods to services, and services to services. Means when we want a good, then we can exchange it with another goods. If you want to avail some services, then it can be availed by giving some goods, and when a particular service is required, another service can be offered, or services can be exchanged with another kind of services. But in this type of system, there were certain limitations. And what were the limitations? Lack of double coincidence of wants. This is one of the important concept, and that we have to understand what is double coincidence of wants. Means double coincidence of wants, we have already gone through the concept of double coincidence of wants when we were there in class 10th. Means double coincidence of wants is a want, means it is a situation in which a person who want to exchange goods with another persons, they must mutually satisfy their needs. Okay, so this is what the double coincidence of wants. Second, lack of store of a value. We cannot keep goods for longer period of time having the same value. That is what the problems the barter system was following, that is lack of store of a value. In the barter system, all commodities are not of equal value, and there is no common measure also. Okay, so most of the goods like wheat, rice, vegetables do not possesses durability, that is their quality deteriorates with passes of time. So if we want to store the value of a goods that we have kept, it is not going to remain same for longer duration of time. Storage of goods require time and efforts. So that is another lack of limitations or lack of store of value or limitations of barter system of exchange. Money cannot be divided. Means there was no any kind of system available during barter system to divide the goods. Means clothes, how many clothes will be exchanged with how many amount of grains, that is totally dependent on the will and uh, the wish of the people who wanted to exchange their goods and services. Another very important function, that is lack of standard of deferred payment. Under barter system, contracts involving future payments or credit transactions cannot take place with ease because of various reasons. Means deferred payments, when payment is done in future dates. If you want to make a payment in future date, then it was not possible in the barter system because of the following reasons. The borrower may not be able to arrange goods of exactly same quantity or quality at the time of repayment. There may be conflict regarding which specific commodity is to be used for repayment. Means after passes of time, they may come into conflicts. The commodities to be repaid may lose or gains its value at the time of repayment. So all these limitations were there in the barter system, and that's why there was a need of another system of exchange which is going to be accepted universally. So before coming to the conditions when we have started using money, let's see the how the money has evolved. Earlier, after barter system, gold was used, or another different precious metals were used to exchange the goods and services. Then metal coins came into form. Then paper money. Another form of money is plastic cards, electronic money, Paytms, Google Pay, Veeam app, online transactions, and another form of money that is there in various countries, that is cryptocurrency like bitcoins. Okay, so the solutions taken by the people to overcome the lapses that they have faced during barter system is money. Okay, so let us define now money. What do you mean by money? Money is anything which is generally accepted as a medium of exchange, measure of value, store of value, means for standard of deferred payment. So money has evolved, removing all the drawbacks that we have faced during barter system, and the money has came into existence as a universal accepted medium of exchange. Another legal definition that is associated with money is the term money covers all such things like coins, notes, checks, etc. Now let us understand what are the different types of money. Cash, currency, legal tender, money in current account, bank account, near money, money substitutes, e-cash, digicash, e-wallet, quasi money, token money, black money. So all are different types of money. As per our syllabus, we should not be familiar with all this concept, but for our information we must know what are the different types of money is available. Now what are the different functions of money? There are two functions. One is primary function, another is secondary function. What are the different primary functions? It is the money acts as medium of exchange. It can be used as a medium of exchange. It is also accepted as a measure of value. Means in barter system, all commodities are not of equal values, and there is no common measures of value of goods and services in which exchange ratio can be expressed. So there was a problem with the exchange. They were not having a measure of value. How we are going to measure how what amount of a particular goods A will be exchanged with B, right? So these were the primary functions. Now let us talk about the secondary functions. Secondary functions of money includes store of value. Money can be stored for a longer period of time. The value of money is not going to be deteriorated. So money has removed all the limitations. So now it is going to be accepted as a primary functions medium of exchange. Nobody can deny exchanging goods and services by taking money. It is now very easy to measure the value of any commodity in terms of money. Talking about secondary functions, it can be stored, and the value going to be the value of money is going to be remain same, right? And standard of deferred payment, the future payment is possible under secondary functions of money. Now let us talk about what are the different functions in details. As a medium of exchange, that is primary function, this facilitates trade. It removes the problem of double coincidence of wants. It facilitates modern productions aspect like division of labor, specialization, etc. Let us talk about another functions, that is as a unit of account or measure of value. Money acts as a measure of value, and it can be used to compare the value of goods and services and factor rewards. Facilitates efficient allocation of limited resources. It helps to measure the price label and changes of them. It facilitates accounting calculations. It helps to set prices for the product. Okay, let us understand the secondary functions of money. As a store of value, this means holding wealth in the form of money for future transactions and investment purposes. Thus, money links present and future through this function. It promotes saving, investment increases, production gets expanded due to increase in investment because of the store of value. It accelerates economic growth due to increase in production. In time of inflation, this function of money is distorted and opportunity cost is involved here, right? So another concept, another functions, another secondary functions, that money acts as a standard for deferred payment. Future payment can be done easily now. Money enables people to borrow and lend agreed amounts. It is now possible to purchase any commodity on EMI because of this standard for deferred payment. It has made the transactions easier and convenient to measure debt and repaying debts. This functions links present and future generations. It facilitates the growth of trade. Once the order has been placed and once the goods are supplied to the persons, traders, the payment can be done very easily. It stimulates the growth of money market. So these were the functions of money. Now let us understand the important concept of money supply that we need to understand. What do you mean by money supply? Money supply refers to total volume of money held by public at a particular point of time in an economy. This year the question has been asked, and it was possible It is very important concept, and as per our syllabus, this is very important. It is very important. Like money supply, what are the different components of money supply? So money supply refers to total volume of money held by public at a particular point of time in an economy. Now, what are the features of money supply? It includes money held by the public only. It is a stock concept. It is concerned with particular point of time, as we have already understand the concept of stock and flow, right? So let us start. What are the measures of money supply? How we are going to measure the money supply? Till 1967-68, Reserve Bank of India used only the narrow measures of money supply. But since 1977, four alternative measures of money supply, that is M1, M2, M3 and M4, have been evolved. So what is M1? It is the first and basic concept of money supply. It is also known as transaction money, as it can be directly used for making transactions. So under M1, we'll be going to list the different forms of money which is directly being used for transaction purposes. So what are the different components? M1 equals to currency and coins with public, demand deposit of commercial banks plus other deposits with RBI. Currency and coins held by the, what are the different components that M1 is having? Currency and coins with public, demand deposits of commercial banks plus other deposits with RBI. Currency and coins with public. It consists of paper notes and coins held by the public. Any currency held with government and banks is not to be included. It includes only the paper notes and coins held by the public. It includes coins of denominations of rupees 10, 5, 2, 1, etc. and paper notes of denominations like 2000, 500 and 100, etc. Currency money is also termed as fiat money. Now, what is fiat money? Fiat money is defined as the money which is under the fiat or order for the government to act as a money. Any note cannot be used for a transactions purpose, cannot be used as a medium of exchange. Only those money which is approved, which has been approved, which is authorized by the government can be considered for exchange or can be considered to act as a money. So that is called fiat money. A fiat money is defined as the money which is under the fiat or order from the government to act as money. That is, under law, it must be acceptable for all debts. Okay. Now, what is demand deposits of commercial banks? It refers to demand deposits of the public with the commercial banks. Demand deposits are the deposits which can be encashed by issuing check at any time by the account holder. Let us understand the concept of currency money or other deposits with RBI. Other deposits with RBI includes deposits held by the RBI on behalf of foreign bank and government, public financial institutions, World Bank, International Monetary Fund, etc. However, it does not include deposits of Indian government and commercial banks with RBI. So it includes only the deposits from international organizations public financial institutions, government and foreign banks. Okay. Now let us understand the concept of M2. M2 is a broader concept of money supply as compared to M1. M2 includes the components of M1, that is currency and coins with public plus demand deposits of commercial banks plus other deposits with RBI plus saving deposit with post office saving bank. Now M3. This concept is broader as compared to M1. In addition to M1, it also includes net time deposits. So M3 equals to components of M1 plus net time deposits with banks. This M4 measures includes total deposit with post office saving banks in addition to M3. So all the components of M3 plus total deposits with post office saving banks are included in M4. That's all for today. Thank you and have a nice day.